Shine, shine,
Hello, I'm Nancy Smith Mattox on WYTV7 in Charlotte, North Carolina, on Shine Your Light Radio Ministry. I'm so excited to have you here today. WYTV7 is a nonprofit, and we use our donations to promote our broadcast. So I'm so excited to have you here today. We're interviewing a beautiful young man, and he has an awesome story that he's going to share with us. His name is Kevin Skidmore. He's in Atlanta, Georgia, and he is a formerly incarcerated person. He is an entrepreneur. He's educated, and he also has his own business called 44 Trucking in Atlanta. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started, okay? Thank you for being with us today, Kevin. I appreciate that.
Thanks for having me.
First, I'd like to start off just a little bit about your testimony, like where you came from and what led up to you becoming incarcerated.
Okay, I was originally I was born in New Orleans, Louisiana, and I grew up in a very violent environment. So it was kind of normal for me to see a lot of violence. I didn't participate, but I saw a lot of it growing up. And my mother had to move here in '91 because her job was closing with AT&T, and she brought me here. And me being the only child, I couldn't understand when she could no longer do things for me that she could in New Orleans, because now she was paying the rent here and the mortgage in New Orleans because we had a house, but she couldn't sell it because the economy is really bad. So she was trying to pay, both households, and the money wasn't there. I didn't understand. And I started what I call myself helping her help me. And it started with stealing candy at the store, selling it at school. This was when I was in high school. I was in 8th grade. It just got progressively worse. My dream was to be a Major League Baseball player. I played ball all my life until I got arrested. Actually, baseball is what kept me out of trouble. Even little petty stuff I did, I never really did big stuff until, just things had changed for me. So, without fumbling around, I progressed and I got worse. And I got introduced to robbing.
To what?
To robbing.
Robbing?
Yes.
Like robbery?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes. I got introduced to that, and what happened, I got transferred. I was about to get expelled from my high school for behavior, and I think I don't know, I didn't want to listen to anybody. I thought I was invisible. At this time, I'm 16. I think, nothing can happen to me. The world is mine. And principal told my mother to get me out of the school, or I couldn't go to any more schools in that county. So she transferred me. When she transferred me, I had to sit out of athletics for 1 year, and that was the year that I got arrested.
Well, I'm not sure that's uncommon even back then. Now, back when I was in school, because at the age of 16, you do think you know everything. You think
Yes,
you know everything. You think you own the world, and really, at age 16, you're just starting in, and the world is your oyster if you think about it. But
Right.
sometimes we just take the wrong path. So you were 16 when you were arrested?
I had just turned 16 in February. I was arrested by April.
Wow. So what were you arrested for?
I was arrested for 1 count of armed robbery.
Armed robbery?
Yes.
And what did you rob, Kevin?
Me and a friend of mine robbed a convenience store.
Oh, okay. Okay. So you had a friend with you.
Yes.
Did both of y'all get arrested?
Yes, both of us got arrested, yes.
Okay, well, what was your sentence, Kevin? What were you sentenced?
We went to jury trial because at the time, it was to get tougher on juvenile crime era. We were labeled as super predators. So district attorneys were not trying to give a deal. So what they did, my co-defendant testified against me, and he was exonerated. They let him go, and I had to go serve 10 years in prison.
10 years?
Yes.
Here in Arkansas, we have an unfortunate thing. When you're a juvenile and you're arrested
Hmm.
and sentenced, you're put in adult prisons. Were you in a
Right.
juvenile facility prison or an adult prison?
Well, I was in the I started off in the juvenile facility when I got arrested. 2 months after that, I was transferred to the jail. All of us were who had capital offenses. And then when I turned 17, I turned 17 in the jail. I was moved up to the adult floors. So by the time I made it to prison, I was already like 19 years old.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But still, that's still a child. That's still a teenager
Yes.
being in prison with adults, as far
Yes.
as I'm concerned. So did you have to serve your full sentence of 10 years?
I served every day of it. No
Wow.
parole. The sentence that they have called Senate Bill 440, that law mandates that juveniles be charged as adults for one of the 7 deadly sins.
And is that just in Atlanta? Is that just in Georgia, or is that federal?
No, that's state. That's not
Okay.
that's state. So
Okay.
7 deadly sins, you can be as young as 13 and be charged as an adult. So I was sentenced under Senate Bill 440. And that's why I named my company 440 Trucking.
That's interesting.
That's why I had the
Yeah.
name, yes.
So you could have a reminder for the rest of your life that you're not going to ever do that again, right?
Oh yes, oh yes.
Wow, that's interesting. I wondered where you got the name from for 440 Trucking. I was going to ask you that. So you were away for 10 years, 10 years of your life,
Yes.
from 16 to 26, right?
Yes. Yes, 16 to 26.
Wow. So do you want to share a little bit about your experience in prison? I mean, you can if you want to. I'd love for you to.
Oh, I don't mind. I don't mind getting sentenced. I remember the day I went to trial, the last day they found me guilty. You never, as a kid, you never believe that stuff can happen to you.
Mhm.
When I got found guilty, I remember passing out in the courtroom.
Really? You passed
I passed
out?
out. Yes. I couldn't believe it. Like, you really said 10 years. Going to prison was a tough transition because you're going into a place that you don't know how to prepare for. In the jails, you get all kinds of stories of what it's going to be like, what you should do. But when you get there, it's like you just can't prepare for it
Right.
because everybody has a different experience.
Yes.
And that was the biggest fear for me. How do I prepare for this? Once I got in prison, I had to do some things that I didn't want to do in terms of violence to kind of create my reputation,
Mhm.
which I hate that I have to admit you forced to hurt somebody so that nobody else won't think you're weak. Once I got past that, I pretty much focused on educating myself and becoming better when I came out. I knew that I didn't want to come out the same way I went in.
Right.
Yeah, so I got transferred to my second prison. I went to 5 in total, but my second prison I went to had trade schools, architectural drafting. I took up graphic arts, learning how to run a print press. So I kind of engrossed myself in just learning because I made good grades in school, so learning was easy for me. I was a teacher's aide in a computer class, teaching people how to use computers. We didn't have internet, but just basic stuff, Word, Excel, PowerPoint. I would teach people how to do that. So I kind of got busy on the educational side of things to keep me busy, from not getting in trouble and being better when I came out. I read a lot. That was the kind of course I took that kept me out of trouble, just staying educational.
Well, I appreciate you sharing that because that's one thing we do here at WYTV7 and on Shine Your Light. We want to let you shine your light so you can be a beacon into the world because there's so much going on now that young people need to hear your story and need to hear real talk because
Right.
it's just no picnic. I mean, it's not fun and it's not worth, it's not worth violating the law what the consequences are. So I'm really excited that you're sharing that real talk with us. What was one of the most pivotal changing points for you?
Oh, one of the most pivotal changing points was when I got found guilty, and my mother came to visit me, and I saw a look in her eyes, and I knew I messed up. I knew I made a big mistake, and I remember that to this day.
Yeah.
And she became my why about why I want to get out and do better and be better, because I'm her only child. I knew I messed up. That was one, and then the second one was the two most pivotal points. The second one was when I was taking trade school. I did architectural drafting. I did graphic arts first. So it was an unwritten rule in the prison. You only could take one trade per sentence. So that means the counselors told us we had to get out and come back in and take another trade.
Oh my God.
A friend of mine, we challenged it. We were the only ones in the prison that challenged it all the way up to the deputy warden. And they said, you know what, you can take a second trade. That moment told me, and this is bad grammar, but ain't no. From that point, I never accepted no for an answer.
Absolutely. So you learned a very valuable lesson. I want to get back a little bit about your mom. I work with a young guy who's 18 now. We're both drivers for a wholesale dealer. And he was telling me his story the other day. And I started crying as he was telling it to me, because he's 18 now. He just got his driver's license, and he went away when he's 16 for drugs. And I'm like, well, what kind of drugs did you do? And he said, anything I could find. It didn't matter if it was a pill, smoke, whatever. I did everything. I'm like, my goodness. And I said, so you basically just broke your mother's heart, right?
Right.
And he said, yes, I did. That's the worst thing about it. And now you're saying the same thing. So I can only imagine how a mother would feel, after that. And I do think that as mothers, we would be heartbroken when that happened. So I'm happy to hear you say that was one of the changing points, because when you saw her, you knew what you'd done. You realized how hard it hit your mother, who you love very much, and that you knew you had to make amends. And then the second part is that you learn not to take no for an answer, which I absolutely love. Because there's an old saying, you may have heard it before, the wheel that squeaks the loudest is the one that gets the grease. So if you think about it, not accepting the word no is what we all need to do. Because if it's something that we really believe in and we really want to do, and we know we have to do it, don't accept no for an answer. And as you saw what happened, so you were able to go through several skills. And what I can't believe is that you could only do one skills training per sentence.
Yes.
That doesn't seem right. I mean, you had 10 years that you had to learn that you could learn things.
Yes. It's a rule.
Wow.
It's a rule. But I mean, we challenged it and we won. And that was a very pivotal point, which I brought home with me, which I'll talk about more when we get to my transition coming back.
So when did you get out of prison?
I got out on April 24th, 2005.
So you've been out quite a while. You've done very well for yourself.
Yes.
What was your first job when you got out of prison? Because, I mean, I don't really know because of myself, but I understand that it's difficult to get a job once you get out.
It depends on you. I'll say that. From my own experience, I had the privilege of going through a transitional center my last year of my sentence, in which I worked at McDonald's. I worked at McDonald's and I had to come back to the center every day. When I got out officially in April 24, 2005, I quit McDonald's, but I only quit McDonald's because I knew I had a better job at Embassy Suites Hotel. Because a friend of mine's wife was the manager there. And she told me, when you get out, we have a job for you. So I got that job, and honestly, it still seemed like it wasn't enough money. So I found out about this company, Trojan Battery, that was not far from my house. And they had full benefits, 401k, you name it. And I set my eyes on them, and I called them every other day for a month. Every other day I called, you hiring? They would tell me no. And my mentality was, You're going to tell me yes one of these calls, so I'm just going to keep calling. If you tell me no, okay, I'll call back the next day. And I called back so much, the lady Heather knew my voice and everything. She said, "This Kevin, just come in tomorrow at 9 o'clock." And I was there, 8:45. I remember, 15 minutes early. Did you got the job? I stayed at that job 13 years.
Wow, that's fabulous.
When I left
There
the job,
you wouldn't take no for an answer.
oh no,
You just learned a very valuable lesson. I
yes,
know I always taught my son, he's older than you, of course, but I've always taught him, to persevere and really just that concept of if you want something, go after it and don't
yes.
give up until you get it. And I've rued the day that I taught him that because it reverses back on me now that he thinks he's the father and I'm his daughter. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, but yeah, but I like that trait in people because you can't give up on your dreams. You can't give up on what you want to do. You just have to keep persevering until you get it. And you've been very blessed. You've been very
Yes, I
blessed
have.
with everything that's happened. That's because you've had the will to do it and the
Yes.
heart and the soul to do it. So that's just really, really exciting. So let's talk a little bit about the transition, and I want to talk about your work you're doing helping others transition too when we get
Okay.
in. But what was the transition like?
When the day I got out, I kissed the ground. Literally, I kissed the pavement. It seems surreal, like I'm really, really out. Several weeks after being out, I still would wake up and think I'm still locked up. The prison, it was still a part of me. It took months and years to kind of get away from that. Actually, even now, I still have dreams of being back in prison.
Mm.
I have dreams at least 3-4 times a month that I'm back in prison. But I don't let that hinder me. It's just something I live with. The transition out for me wasn't that hard because I was determined. So I lived at my mother's house for about 2 years. And finally, a friend of mine who was also incarcerated with me, he and I went to get our first apartment. We went to over 30 different apartment complexes before somebody said yes.
Oh my goodness.
There's no
Wow.
exaggeration. And the apartment complex that said yes was in the same neighborhood where I committed my crime.
Wow. Oh my goodness. Well, we're gonna do a quick commercial break.
Okay.
And then we're going to be right back with you.
Okay.
So I got to hear more about this. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you for listening to WITV7. Can you make us your #1 listen to network? Visit us on the web at WITV7.org. Contact us. We are currently accepting guests to share their story of hope with our audience around the world.
Okay, Kevin, tell me more about this. So first of all, how sad is it that it took 30 different apartment complexes before y'all could find an apartment?
It was tough. It was tough. One, it was expensive. Also, it's a lot of application fees.
Wow.
But still, I was determined. So it just reminded me that having a felony, does pose hindrance to progression, but it doesn't stop me. It's just kind
of. And I want you to elaborate a little more about that, because after all, I want people that listen to this and hear this to be able to show this to their teenagers so they understand the true repercussions of what happened. Not only is it the time you're in jail or the time you're in prison,
yes,
transition afterwards and how you get to where you want to be.
Yes. And just having a felony alone, the job, to go back to the job that I had at Trojan Battery, at that time, nobody wanted to do the work. That's why they were hiring convicted felons, because the work was so hard. And honestly, when I got hired, at that time, they were hiring 10 people a week.
Wow.
Friday, one was left. I was one of the ones that stayed, but I knew I had no other option. I knew my options were limited. And I got in, I did the job. I applied the same way I was ingenious with criminal activity. I applied that in a positive way to the job. That's how I was able to get promotions, to move up. I left the job in November last year. And when I left, I was in leadership. I was a team lead. I had been a team lead for about 6 years.
Wow.
I had a team of 24 operators that worked under me. So I had to, lead them, through the shift, let them know what batteries we were going to build. It was a great experience being in that position. And I left the job to do what I'm doing right now full time, and also to grow my trucking company.
Okay, so let's talk about now then. What are you doing now? I know you started the trucking company.
Right.
And so you're such an entrepreneur, and I love your spirit. Your spirit is just such a humbling and a precious spirit. But tell me what you're doing now. You said you're doing a couple of things. You're doing the 440 trucking, and what else are you doing?
Okay, I have 440 trucking, which is my trucking company. I want to elaborate a little more on 440. I started 440 trucking in 2014. I was always looking for a way to invest and a way to give back. And the idea was to be able to hire convicted felons coming out of prison and put them in a truck. So I couldn't start out like that. I had to grow the business and grow my fleet. Now I'm at a place where I have an insurance that will cover a new driver, which means I have one guy that just got out. I'll be hiring him in the next couple of weeks to drive for me. That was the whole goal of 440 trucking, to give back and give opportunity to people just like me. And I spelled 440 wrong. I don't know if you noticed it.
I did.
And I spelled it like that because the you means you make the difference in how your life turns out, nobody else. And that's my reminder that I make the difference. And for anybody I hire, you make the difference in your life. Nobody else does. We often blame external circumstances why we can't succeed, when a lot of times it's all up to us and what we want. So I left the job full time to do the trucking company and to continue to give back and re-entry like I do now. So I wear a couple of hats. I'm a facilitator with the U.S. Attorney's Office at Metro Reentry Prison here in Atlanta, Georgia. I facilitate a class once a week called ACEs. And actually, this is the shirt. We have a class today.
Okay.
Shirt.
Yeah.
It says ACEs. ACEs means adults committed to success. Adults committed to empowerment and success. That's what
I love it. And this is in the reentry facility, right?
Yes.
The reentry program.
The reentry prison.
A little bit about what the reentry program is, because people don't know that. I know what it is because I've researched it a lot, but go ahead.
Okay, so here in Atlanta, they took a prison. It used to be a women's prison. And they took the women out and they brought people in who are short timers, who have 2 years or less. So right now, in the state of Georgia, you may have 800 transitional beds for transitional housing for people to work and still finish out their last sentence. But you may have, I think we got like 50,000 people incarcerated. So they opened up Metro Reentry Prison to be a place where the resources can come inside to them. So they can't leave and go to work. But we bring the resources inside to them. So one of the things I do, I have Regions Bank coming in every week and do a financial class. I've been bringing in any employer I can meet. I brought in Star Upholstery. And they'll train guys how to upholster furniture and hire them when they get out. So we're bringing the resources inside. And the classes we do with ACEs is more about empowerment, how to think, changing negative thinking, breaking away from the stereotypes, hold your head up, you can do it. Nobody knows you're a felon but you. So a lot of times we get out and feel defeated already before we try. So it's about, not giving up.
Right.
Yeah, that's a great class. I love it. I see the transition that guys make when they're exposed to different information. All the facilitators that go in with the U.S. Attorney's Office, all of us are former offenders. All of us.
Really? Oh, my word.
Yes. Yes, all of us have done. One guy did 23 years. I did 10. Another guy did 13. All of us done various amounts of time.
Wow.
Yes, we come back into prison and give them real life examples of people who have made it, who look just like them.
Yes.
So if I can make it, you can too. That's what ACE is, is about, empowerment and success. Also, I sit on the steering committee with the Department of Community Supervision. That's a new name, a fancy name for the probation office.
Yeah, okay.
I'm on their steering committee, which we go out and find capacity, jobs, housing, you name it, anything individuals need getting out to make a successful transition. So we do that. We meet once every 3 months, but I'm on that board with the probation office.
Yeah.
And also I'm a facilitator for OAA. OAA is the Offender Alumni Association. I just started doing that. Forum for former offenders. Like a lot of groups, you have your AAs, your NAs, breast cancer survivors. We didn't have a support group for felons getting out. So I hosted one in DeKalb County. We had one in DeKalb, 2 in Fulton, one in Clayton County. Our plan is to get one in each of the major counties in Atlanta.
So is OAA, is that a national organization or just a Georgia thing?
It's national.
Okay, I thought so.
Yeah, it started in Alabama. And the U.S. Attorney's Office found out about it and they brought it here.
Okay.
So Deborah Daniels, one of the co-founders, she's the one who brought us into the program, does a training with us. And like I said, I agreed to do the cab. It's a joint collaboration with Project Safe Neighborhoods.
Okay.
And
what does OAA stand for again?
Offender Alumni Association.
Okay. Wow. Well, you are really, really a busy young man. I'm so excited for you for everything that you're doing. I'm going to be praying that you just continue to have the time. And we're going to have to go because this is a short interview.
Right.
But I appreciate you so much. But sometime I'd like for you to come back and elaborate a little bit more about this OAA, especially if it's a national thing, because it needs to be talked about because it needs to be in every state. I really haven't ever heard of it in Arkansas. So,
I don't think it made it that far yet. National, because President Trump just gave Deborah Daniels a recognition award a couple of months ago. So if he knows about it, then it'll
start going into other states. Wow.
Right.
I'd like to kind of help you with that too in the state of Arkansas because I belong to a lot of organizations. A lot of organizations that would love to be involved with that. So
that would be good.
So how did you hear about us? You want to talk a little bit about Miss Sharon?
Yeah, so Sharon Allman is great. She's a great person. How I met Sharon, I had been so busy working at the job, and I felt this void, like I want to give back. I need to get back into it. And I emailed her. I didn't know who she was. I emailed her. I found her online, and I just emailed her and sent her some bullets. So who I am, what I've done, where I am today. And she answered the email and called me in and said, "We need you on our committee because you've been through it." And I just told her, where I am, how I'm a homeowner, which is a big accomplishment for me.
Oh, yeah.
I'm a house in 2011, and I've never had to worry about where I have to live anymore. That brings me a great peace of mind.
Yes, sir.
So I just told her where I was, what I was doing, and ever since she brought me on, floodgates have opened up for opportunity just to help.
Yeah, absolutely.
She told me about you.
I appreciate you so much for taking time out of your your busy day to come and let me interview you on Shine Your Light and WYTV 7. This is the kind of information that we want to get out into the public. We have several million viewers that may view this, and it'll go international. And you never know. More doors will start to open because of just these kind of interviews. So I'm happy that I was able to help you in some sort of way, and I appreciate you so much for being with us today. Okay, thank you so much, Kevin. Okay,
thank you. All right.